basic letter forms for this italic brush lettering. We will start with the straight form. Notice I'm changing the position of my hand to produce a different direction. And then we'll move to the slanted version. Now, we have some variations here. We can lead in. We can connect the strokes. We can have them separate. So let's do a line of connected strokes. Notice there are lots of lifts between this, because if we try to do this written with joins, what we end up with is more of a copper plate base. So obviously, knowing the shapes of the letters that you're aiming for is really important. So italic has a tendency to come down and across, whereas copperplate has a tendency to come down and around and up. So we see this very typical italic ligature joining the letters to each other. Or we see this typical copperplate join which goes under and up and over, as opposed to under and down and across. So we noted to would give us, for the L, the T, notice I'm changing my hand, the J, the H, and the Y. Very italicized or italic-like shapes. We move from disjointed letters to and then we join the letters with a curve. So I hope you can see that I'm moving from the tip with a little bit with pressure to the tip with no pressure, to a change in position, to a change in hand position. One of the things I like to do when I'm practicing is I put little dots on the guidelines as the top sheet is blank to help me to remember exactly where I'm working. So here's the letter F. We also have this F, and we have a simpler F, which is that F. Next in the groups, we see the bold base letters. So let's start an italic shape. And it's always wise to test this upright first. So then we're changing to this slant. And the main difference between the copperplate form and the italic form is whereas we have a slightly straighter bit here at the top, we come around, up, and over and down and around. Or rather, sorry, we come across and over and down and around. Whereas with the copperplate forms, we come up and around and down and back around. So if we also look at the A here, we see that this A has a straight join. So there's almost a 90-degree angle there, whereas this has a curved join. So understanding those distinctions will help you to determine which letter form you're working on. Next group of letters notice how I'm using my arm to make these large downstrokes. And this is a combination of finger and wrist movement rather than only finger movement. The problem with finger movement is it limits you. That's the absolute maximum you can go with finger movement. It also has the potential to cause quite a lot of damage to the ligaments in the hand because it's a lot of additional movements that the hand's not really made to do for such a sustained period. So let's angle the script. And then we can add a little bit more information there. Stop at the bottom, lift the tool, change from a flatter angle to a steeper angle. One of the issues here is a lot of people think that you have to follow through the entire stroke in one go. This has a natural tendency to round the letters off, making them slightly more copperplate-like. So I've added a little curve to this. And let's look at how this compares to the other letters. I'm just going to throw something in here as well, so you see how this compares to a modern calligraphic form. And if you wanted to understand how that works, then you would need to look to the historical copperplate or English round hand shape. Next we come to the slightly more difficult letters. Notice here, change, and change. 1, 2, 3. So this gives us an idea of the fact that we're going to make an S, because we have to move in this direction. Z is funny in that it's the opposite of that shape. And X is, whereas this is the downstroke, diagonal, diagonal. So we get K, S, Z, and X. This allows us to play with the letters a little bit more. K, S, Z, X. And if you wanted to look at it in its copperplate form, K, S, press, release, press, Z, and X. A bit of a comparative analysis. An italic structure with a copperplate R. A copperplate structure with a variant B. A modern calligraphy variant where the letters are moving up and down over the baseline. So some people refer to this as bouncing the letters. And a really sort of calligraphic treatment where we've used different forms of letters from different scripts. This is clearly an italic-like shape. That's more of a copperplate-like shape. This is more of a modern calligraphy shape, and this is more of a contemporary broad pen calligraphy shape.